In the serene suburbs of Aurora, Colorado, a dark tale of betrayal unfolded that would captivate and horrify the nation. This is the tragic tale of Angela Craig, a loving and warm person who was brutally murdered by the person whom she loved and trusted the most. But who was it? On March 18, 2023, Angela Craig was found dead. Angela, a loving mother of 6 and the wife of a respected dentist, was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Her life was tragically cut short by the person she trusted the most. Angela was known for being a warm and kind person. She had a warm smile and was completely dedicated to her family. Her friends and neighbors described her as a loving mother and a supportive wife. She was the kind of person who would bring light into the lives of those around her. James Craig, a prominent dentist, seemed to have it all: a successful career, a beautiful family, and a respectable standing in the community. He appeared to be an ideal man that every woman would want. But behind this facade, a sinister plot was brewing, one that would end in tragedy. It all began in March 2023, when Angela started to experience severe, mysterious, and unexplained symptoms. She was feeling unwell and suffering from dizziness, headaches, and nausea. Her family and children were extremely concerned because it was something unexplainable, but no one could have imagined the true reason. Her condition worsened rapidly. She was rushed to the hospital multiple times, but the doctors were confused. It wasn't until her death that the horrifying truth began to unfold.
No, she did not. Angela was in and out of the hospital 3 times in a 2-week period, and doctors simply just couldn't figure out what was wrong with her in that time frame.
At first, people thought that there might be some unexplainable natural cause, but the investigation into Angela's death took a traumatizing turn when authorities discovered that she had been poisoned. The forensic team reported that the substances discovered were not what they expected. They found potassium cyanide and arsenic, both highly lethal and difficult to trace.
Her autopsy, though, shows that she had a lethal concentration of cyanide in her body when she died, along with some other poisons like arsenic.
My goodness. So how did police come to suspect him as the murderer?
The forensic reports list arsenic poisoning as a significant condition related to the death of 43-year-old Angela Craig. According to the document, when her body was examined, lethal concentrations of cyanide were found, as well as lethal doses of tetrahydrozoline. There was no evidence of any traumatic injury. Her death was ruled a homicide. The reports said that blood concentrations between 1 and 2.5 mcg per ml can cause stupor or coma, with death occurring at levels exceeding 2.5. The coroner in Arapahoe County testified during a preliminary hearing on Wednesday, which is when a judge ruled there was enough evidence to move the case to trial. The primary suspect, you ask? Her loving husband, James Craig. He was the #1 suspect because as a doctor he surely must know a lot about drugs. From the outset, there were signs that something was wrong. Angela's symptoms were consistent with poisoning. It seemed like it was given routinely. Once they investigated and took a look closer, the pieces started to fall into their respective places. Investigators uncovered some unbelievable pieces of evidence that were pointing straight toward one and only James Craig. He had conducted internet searches on poisons and had even purchased potassium cyanide and arsenic online. Suspicious packages were traced back to him, and text messages revealed a chilling premeditation. He had searched for questions like how to make poison, undetectable poisons, arsenic detectable in an autopsy, and how to make the murder look like a heart attack.
Of his wife, Angela Craig. Now, police allege he researched and then purchased those poisons online, and they believe that he then put that poison in Angela Craig's protein shakes that were part of the couple's daily routine.
James Craig's search history painted a terrifying picture of a man meticulously planning his wife's murder. He had researched dosage, symptoms, and the effects of various poisons, ensuring that Angela's death would appear as natural as possible. Days later, James Craig's wife, Angela Craig, turned to Google to try to figure out why she was experiencing symptoms like vertigo, shaking, and cold lips, and she searched for doctors who could help her. District Attorney John Kellner said Wednesday in a court hearing on the evidence in the case. "This is a person who is tragically being slowly poisoned by her husband," he said. According to police reports, Angela started feeling unwell after drinking a shake that her husband made for her on March 6, 2023. Over the next 10 days, she visited the hospital 3 times complaining of nausea and dizziness, but doctors couldn't determine what was causing her illness. On March 15th, her brother took her to the hospital again. She had a seizure soon afterward, lost brain function, and died. James Craig, 45, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in the case. On Wednesday, prosecutors described Craig's actions as deliberate and determined. In the ensuing trial, the prosecution laid out a mountain of evidence. They argued that Dr. Craig had a clear motive and had acted with cold-blooded precision. The defense struggled to counter the overwhelming facts presented against him. While Craig's lawyers argued that there was no direct evidence that he put poison in his wife's protein shakes, as police accused the lead detective of being biased against him, Judge Shea Whitaker ruled at the end of the hearing that there was enough evidence for the case to proceed toward a trial. She noted that Craig is alleged to have bought poisons online just before Angela Craig experienced her mysterious symptoms.
Well, it started with a package that was allegedly delivered to James Craig's office while Angela was in the hospital. And then one of his staff says she opened the package, saw that it contained potassium cyanide.
Toxicology tests showed that Angela Craig died because she had been poisoned with cyanide and tetrahydrozoline, a substance found in over-the-counter eye drops. 22 forensic experts testified during the hearing that potassium cyanide and arsenic are incredibly dangerous. Even in small amounts, they can cause severe symptoms and death. The fact that these substances were found in Angela's system and traced back to her husband was incontrovertible evidence. Angela's final days were filled with agony and confusion. She trusted her husband, the man who was supposed to protect her, unaware that he was the one orchestrating her suffering. Her sudden death left her children and community in shock. The police worked tirelessly to piece together the evidence. Every detail pointed to a calculated murder, carried out by a man driven by unknown motives. Some speculated about financial troubles, infidelity, or other hidden aspects of James Craig's life that led him to commit such a heinous act. The police alleged her husband was meeting another woman, fellow dentist Karen Kane, who flew from Texas to visit him.
Now to the Colorado dentist accused of murdering his wife by secretly lacing her protein shakes. The woman he had started seeing is speaking for the first time in an ABC News exclusive. Our chief national correspondent Matt Gutman sat down with her.
The courtroom was a battleground. The prosecution's case was strong, bolstered by forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the digital trail left by Dr. Craig. The defense's attempts to sow doubt were largely ineffective against the tide of incriminating facts. James Craig meticulously planned his wife's murder, believing he could make her death appear as a natural illness. His digital trail exposed his sinister intentions, showing that he had researched dosage, symptoms, and the effects of various poisons. Karen Kane, an orthodontist, told ABC's Good Morning America that she had been in the process of divorcing her husband of almost 30 years when she met James Craig at a dental conference in February. She said they were together for 3 weeks.
She told me she felt deceived by the man that she thought she had fallen in love with. She said that dentist had lied to her about being deep into a divorce, lied to her about the values they shared, lied to her about why his wife was dying. And this morning at this courthouse, he faces that preliminary hearing in which prosecutors will try to convince a judge that there is enough evidence to try him for the first-degree murder of his wife.
I don't like that label. If I had known what was true, I would not have been with this person.
In total, how long were you together with James Craig?
I want to say it lands right exactly at 3 weeks.
Do you think that James Craig allegedly poisoned his wife to clear the deck so he could be with you?
There's no way I'm motive. There's been no planning a future together.
Asked whether she thought Craig killed his wife to be with her, Kane said they hadn't been planning a future together. Investigators believe James Craig put arsenic in one of the protein shakes he routinely made for his wife for their workouts on March 6th. And then, after she survived, he ordered a rush shipment of potassium cyanide that he told the supplier was needed for a surgery, according to court documents. James Craig had asked an office manager not to open that package, but another employee did, leading to its discovery and eventual disclosure to authorities. Craig's arrest affidavit says, "The lead detective in the case, Bobby Olson, testified that testing was still being conducted on an eyedropper sent to a laboratory for analysis." Under questioning from defense attorney Andrew Ho, Olson acknowledged that FBI testing of 2 bottles used for shakes did not reveal any sign of cyanide or arsenic. He also suggested that Craig, who he said had previously tried to kill himself, had been searching online for ways to kill himself. Outside the courtroom, Angela Craig's brother, Mark Prey, said that he had never heard anyone want to conceal the method of suicide. And he said he wanted to thank the Aurora detectives and the DA's office for their unwavering dedication to seeking justice for his beloved sister's senseless murder. According to Prey, this cowardly act, driven by self-absorption, is a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. Prey continued, "He manipulates and exploits anyone and anything to evade accountability for his monstrous deeds. However, his reckoning is inevitable. Whether in this life or the next, justice will prevail, and he will face the consequences of his actions." Angela Craig's sister told police that James and Angela's marriage was tumultuous. She said James Craig had been addicted to pornography since he was a teenager, and he had drugged his wife 6 years before, according to the affidavit. Angela Craig's sister said that several times over the past 16 years, Angela had planned to leave, but each time her husband persuaded her to stay. Angela Craig told her sister that James Craig had run the dental office into the ground, and their finances were dire, according to the affidavit. Olson told the judge and court that Craig reportedly told the inmate about his charge and asked them to place letters in his garage and truck at his home. She testified that the letters were allegedly written from inside the prison and meant to appear as his deceased wife had written them. According to the detective, the letters were meant to show that Angela was not happy with her life, felt suicidal, and was aware of her husband's affair. She testified that the entire point of those letters being written and spread across the house was so that law enforcement or defense attorneys could find them. Olson also told the court that the accused murderer had offered the inmate free dental work or money in exchange for scattering the letters across his house. However, the inmate did not take up the offer and instead contacted the authorities. But defense attorney Andrew Ho fired back and pointed out that the inmate only contacted authorities after Craig's initial preliminary hearing was brought to media attention. However, the judge ruled the prosecution established probable cause and met their burden of proof. The text messages between the couple show how Craig's smallest concern was his wife, even as she lay hospitalized, frightened, and dying, who was suffering through the symptoms of the poison he allegedly gave her. Chelsea Norton, 35, who worked for Craig at his Summerbrook dental practice, where Angela also worked, told DailyMail.com, "We're all just in shock. He was a very good guy, like the least likely person for any of this. They were the nicest, sweetest family, with such cute kids. I've looked back on my memories to see if there's anything I missed that hinted at anything that would explain this at all, but there's nothing." It was Craig's business partner who reported the concerns to a nurse at University Hospital.
Angela was in the hospital, and then one of his staff says she opened the package, saw that it contained potassium cyanide, and then when Jim Craig's business partner heard that what was in that package, he then alerted a nurse at the hospital, who in turn then called police, and shortly thereafter James Craig was arrested.
The nurse in turn informed law enforcement, setting in motion the investigation that led to Craig's arrest and charging. In court, the prosecution's case was strong, bolstered by forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and the digital trail left by Dr. Craig. The jury found him guilty of first-degree murder, bringing a measure of justice to Angela's family. In the wake of the trial, the community held a vigil for Angela, remembering her as the loving mother and kind soul she was. Candles were lit and stories were shared, honoring her memory. Angela Craig's death is a haunting reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a facade of normalcy. Her story is one of heartbreak, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of justice. What do you think about today's case? Write your thoughts in the comments section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon for more cases like this. Until then, have a great time.